And we're back. Sorry about that little technical difficulty there. It happens occasionally. But last we'd heard our Sergeant Terry had launched himself forward at the Jeddak of Zidanga and rolled a 38.
30 something. It's 30
We'll
something.
We'll say 38 because it's a nice little round number there.
I think it was just too high for the bandwidth, and it just
could have been.
Yeah, right. It was such a palpable blow. So, I just knocked out my bandwidth. Yeah.
Okay, so with that, it would be 2D. So you're using a
I'm
saber.
Using Creech on Saber, so it's
strength plus D10
plus 1 again.
Plus
for blood and guts.
Yes, plus 1 again. Plus because you rolled so high with the raises, you get to add D6s to that. But I'm going to cap it at 5D6.
Oh, come on. All right.
So strength plus D10 plus 1 plus 5D6.
5D6. How many? I need more D6s. There we go. All right, so. Oh, and damage dice do in fact explode?
Yes.
Oh. We might have a blowout here.
Okay.
Come here, you bastard. $41 points of damage.
All right. The sword in your hand
becomes a lightsaber.
It seems to almost leap on its own, as if a mind is guiding your hand.
I'm okay.
You're propelled forward, and that blade finds the one spot on the side of his cuirass that is exposed and pierces his flesh, sliding in all the way, transfixing him. His eyes go wide, and as you stand there holding him up, he coughs slightly with blue blood pouring from his mouth. And as he looks you in the eyes, he tries to take a breath, but you've pierced both of his lungs. And you see him just crumpled.
The last thing he sees or hears or really anything is Terry whispering, "No, she's mine," as I lower him down to the ground.
As you draw that blade out, you see George finish off the last of the honor guard. Bo-chan leaps at his, looks up at you as she's bound there with what looks to be silver chains.
Terry pulls them off.
Okay.
Pops
you're
the
able
links.
to, pops the links and pulls them off, frees her. She throws her arms around you and she whispers into your ear, "Thank you, my love. Thank you, my Jeddak."
I crush her to me, and Terry at that point, he breaks down. He lets her have it.
So soaring music goes up. Outside, you can see that the battle is coming to an end. The Zidongan fleet is scattering. This white box sits there and glows. And now, at this point, you can all smell this sweet, sweet sea air blowing in from that distortion in the space behind the throne of Zidanga, where this third fell through.
Is that
it's hard to say exactly. It's got it has a bit of a pine scent mixed in with it.
Maybe it's Denmark. Maybe.
It doesn't have quite the chill of Denmark. It's a bit warmer. And that's when you realize that the sun is setting there. And you can see the sunset. as you're looking out over the water. So whatever you're facing west.
Can't make out the coastline of any sort.
It looks rocky. It doesn't look. Doesn't look anything like Gallipoli. So the water is blue, bright, and you see seabirds in the air. You can't hear them. In fact, you can't really hear anything. You're just feeling this breeze blowing through. The rest of the men sort of press forward, and they get closer, they actually see. And one of them says, "By God, it's home."
If you wish to go home, now's your chance, lads. As I'm going to kind of squeeze Bo-chan a little tighter.
The fellows start dropping weapons and such, and you see the chaplain come up, and he looks at you, at Terry, and he says, "I know this isn't quite on the full trappings and whatnot, but do you take her as your wedded wife?"
Terry pulls back so he can look her in the eye. Would you have me?
Of course, yes.
I look at the chaplain and I say, with all of my being.
Since both of you have both said yes, even though I didn't say it to both of you, I now pronounce you man and wife. It's official. You're married in Christ as well. And he says, "But I've had enough of this place." He turns and he walks through, closes his eyes and walks through.
This isn't the last time we have to open this. We have more to go.
The other fellows, as I see him go through, you can actually see him capering on the other side, then he falls to his knees and he kisses the ground. And the other fellows start going through one by one, almost sort of bumping into each other and pushing through until the only three left of the three of you.
The last man to go through,
Mhm.
I'm going to give him a swift boot in the butt to make sure he gets through,
Okay.
just as a goodbye.
All right.
Virgil, before you go, and I know you can't go now, but I need you to find my sister. She's in Blackwood. He gives Virgil the address.
You'll write a letter for her, right?
Actually, you know what? He has written a letter for her. He'll fish it out of his rucksack and hand it over. And Terry will go, "She will not trust you. So if she tries to shoot you, she will ask you something that only I would know. She will likely ask you what her favorite summer dress is. Or to say goldenrod with peony petals on it that she herself embroidered on there. Unless you want to get shot in the head. You will see that she very much is my sister."
So of course it wouldn't be the right answer.
No. Don't.
Goldenrod. Okay.
Goldenrod. Which is actually the color of Beltan. Decidedly. He'll look back at Bo-chan and he'll just murmur to her, "It's done."
She just hugged you and says, "Yes, it is. Finally."
He'll give her a squeeze again, and he'll actually take off his Union Jack, and he'll drape it over the top of over the throne, and he'll take her hand, and he will have her sit. A wave of exhaustion kind of comes over Terry. I'm assuming the rest of our Marines and the heliometric troops are pouring in right now.
Yeah, they're starting to come in, yes.
Question for the game master, or the Jeddak of the game.
Right.
Is John Carter there?
He comes in literally at the as you do this. He comes in, blade in hand,
Covered in blood.
Covered in blood. His faithful Woola by his side, snarling at such. And he sees you do that, and he sort of tilts his head. And as she sits, he's like, is he claiming it for England?
He'll stoop and grab a fistful of the former Jeddak's hair.
And Fergal says, "It's complicated." I'm sorry.
He'll take the Jeddak's head, Malhadak, and he'll actually hold it up for the Marines pouring in, and for Beltan, or excuse me, and for Helium, really. And he will place the head on the left-hand armrest facing out, and Terry will actually take a knee. Well, what's the expression on her face at this whole point?
She looks a bit confused, and actually she has a bit of a wistful look on her face as she's actually looking past you right at the moment. And as you look back, you see a blue blood covered white fur cloak laying on the ground in front of this distortion, and no Baldric. As you look through the distortion, you see Baldric sitting there on the shore.
I'll kind of reach out to him, like through the portal.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sticking my hand through the portal, but
yeah,
he will see that I'm like.
Yeah. So he sort of waves. You can see. Salutes. So,
I'll just look back at her, and I'll say, Zidonga is ours. And he'll take a knee. He will kind of bend over her lap, and he will kiss her on the thigh, and then he'll put his head on her lap, her most perfect lap, out, sleeping.
yeah, he's sleeping about 3 days, I think.
Mm-hmm. Who knew that 3 perps, 2.5 packs of cigarettes, adrenaline, and no sleep would be good for a guy?
Okay.
He's sleeping on the best lap on Barsoom.
So what's Fergal going to do?
Well, I would imagine as he's ushered out, he makes his way back, and he's still holding on to this box. He needs to figure out how to reopen it.
It's still open.
But it's only, is it following the box?
No, actually, it's just the box. The opening staying in the same spot. The box, as you're walking around, doesn't seem to. Maybe you have to like do something to close it. So,
A smarts check, I guess.
mm-hmm. Yeah, do a smarts check.
Oh boy. All right. Wow. Okay, I got a total of a 10.
You're able to figure out that there's these symbols on top of this box that if you touch them in a certain pattern, you figure it out, the portal starts to fade away. And the last thing you see is Baldric still looking back to the portal as he's fading.
So he closes the portal and he's actually kind of choked up, and he salutes Terry and heads back to the Elga to make final preparations and figure out how to reopen the portal.
Okay.
The next time he's going through.
Okay.
But he is also going to try his damnedest to convince Sita to come with him.
Okay.
Is that her name? Shiloh?
Her name is Sita. Seta.
Sita. Yeah. Sita.
Okay. So we'll just do sort of wrap-ups with you guys and what happened next. So we'll go ahead and start with Fergal, since you started there, about what is Fergal going to do from this point forward? Where does he wind up at? How does he wind up there?
So I would imagine that Fergal ends up back in his quarters in Beltan, and that's where he was assigned. And he invites Sita over for dinner, and after kind of uncomfortably excited and nervous and so on over dinner and stuff, he finally breaks it and he says, "I want you to come with me."
And she said, "Yes, of course I would love to go with you."
Back to Earth.
As she gets this look of wonder on her eyes, I would love to see this place where there's so much water. You're actually wind up talking to Port Calic, who's the engineer that had helped you with the ship in the first place, and he sort of looks at this box and he figures out how to open the portals and stuff like that, and to an extent how to direct the portals a bit. And he during that time, you guys get a visit from John Carter himself. He comes in, he wants to see you guys, wants to meet you, see this box, and as you're talking about that, it's dropped. You want to take Sita back with you to Earth, and he looks at you and he says, "I'm sorry, but you can't. As much stronger as we are here, she'll be that much weaker there. She wouldn't even be able to stand." But with this, I mean, nothing says you can't go there and possibly come back someday. Or
I would think that this would be better in the hands of, well, who would? I'm not one to make these types of decisions. He's looking at John Carter like, do I look like someone who should be in charge of this box?
He sort of smiles. He said, "I'll tell you, one of the best soldiers I ever met was an Irishman. You guys get a short shift quite often, but you folks were known as warrior poets at one time. You guys have great minds. Don't sell yourself short."
Then we will make it. We'll make an occasion of it, my lady, and unfortunately, we'll have to be separated. And so after he figures out how to use the box, he then says his goodbyes and gathers any last things from Terry. And
the dress socks.
The dress socks. Yep. And I think Hawking still owed me the set, right?
He actually gave you yours.
Did he?
3 sessions ago.
All right. So after he says his goodbyes, he takes the last group of Britishmen with him. He doesn't know where they're going, but he's taking the box. And I would imagine that after he ends up back at Earth, he makes his way back home, trying to figure out how long it's been.
At this point, it is, you guys had left in toward the end of summer of 1915. At this point, it is the early part of 1916. It's winter. So I'll give you the exact date here real quick.
Congratulations, boys. We have missed the Somme. Good.
Yeah.
We would not have survived the Somme.
So
Okay, so about a year.
Yeah, about a year. It's coming up on April, early April.
Okay.
And
So,
yeah, go ahead.
oh, I would imagine that he goes back and he had a term, he had a contract, and he owes that to the Army.
Mm-hmm.
He owes that to his oath, and he brings it back, but first he delivers the message to Terry's sister.
I'll let Terry decide how that goes.
He kind of messes it up a little bit, but he started with goldenrod, and he started off on another tangent, and then he kind of wait, it's and this, and he said you'd understand this.
Where is my brother now?
He's in a good place.
He better not be dead. As she levels this Webley at you.
When I left him, he was getting his brains fucked out by quite the lass. Pardon my French, ma'am. And he was very happy in love with his new bride. Now,
My older brother got married without telling me or letting me vet this woman out.
yes, he's a right bastard, okay?
I should burn these bullets in you on principle. How can I go find him?
I have, as you would understand as any soldier, I need to finish my term.
I understand.
When I come back, I give you my word. I will take you to see him if you'd like to.
I'm not stupid, Corporal McGuire. How can I know for certain that you'll come back alive? Take
That's
me
in
to
the
him
fate
now.
of the Lord.
Please. It is lonely in this house, and I have not seen any of my family for years. Please take me to him now. I can.
All right, so
I will pack a bag.
I take out
and
the
we can-
magic box, and then I introduce her to Mars. I send her off alone.
Oh my God! Please tell me
So-
you have like the coordinates for Beltan, so she's not somewhere off by Tarth or something.
That's the
Well,
next
I mean, I
story.
did
What are you talking
practice
about?
what they were like.
Ugh.
Yeah, I'm sure you probably know Beltan pretty well. You probably had that drilled into yourself for that. So yeah, you see her off into the deal with Beltan. One of the things I will say,
I introduced her to a guard and told him to please take this young gentle to her brother. And then I would imagine that I go back and report to the duty office with some crazy story, the best Irish fable that you've ever thought of. And I do my best to try to find out where Hawkins is.
Well, unfortunately, when you go back to report back to the military, you find out very quickly that attitudes have very much changed about the Irish while you've been gone. There's been some rumblings that the Irish may be attempting to break away from England in a rebellion. And you find yourself under suspicion just for being Irish. Before you know it, you wind up having to make a decision. You've actually gained some skills you didn't have before, and are you going to allow these men to clamp you in irons? You're basically facing down the attitudes that you fought against the entire time, the ones you didn't have to deal with on Barsoom. Of these British officers who immediately assumed that that you're a criminal, that your story is a lie, that you've been out gallivanting about the globe or whatnot, away with that official leave.
Well, he's going to be like, fuck all, and he's going to go back home.
And when you get back home, you find out very quickly that what they're saying is very much true. There is a rebellion fomenting in Ireland.
Interesting. Well, for the time being, though, he is going to go under an assumed name and start going to Cambridge then.
Okay. Shortly after that, on the 24th of April, the Easter Rising occurs, where a number of on the week of Easter in April of 1916, it's made known that that Ireland, or a portion of Irish revolutionaries, are choosing to break away. There are the turmoil in Ireland becomes something that's gets fairly bad. The British Army actually gets sent in. There are men, and as of May, they get executed for apparently trying to do this, and that sort of fires off that whole episode of the Irish Rebellion. Whether or not McGuire wants to get involved with that or not is up to him, of course. But
he keeps his finger on the pulse of it, but he has a debt to owe to a friend, and he's going for a degree.
All right. So, okay. Matter of fact, you're actually, if you want to go under assumed name, you can actually take the Hawkins name if you want. It's an interesting salute, if you will. Speaking of Hawkins, what happened to Hawkins after he walked through the portal and found himself on the coast of California?
Nice.
Can't hear you. Can't hear you.
Yeah, he's a little curious about it, but he decides to help the British soldiers get home.
Okay.
When he gets back, he's aware that there's a possible court-martial, so he thinks very quickly and makes up a story that actually fits in with what he believes might work. Is that one of the ships that the British were taking up the coast, it had gotten destroyed. It had gotten lost in a storm and destroyed, and that they had floated and had been picked up by an American cruiser and had been brought back to the States, nursed back to health, and now they're ready to return to duty.
Well, you find out that most of the soldiers that are there have no desire to go back to duty. They've seen enough blood, enough death. They take a vote, and they decide to stay in California.
Hawkins returns.
But they'll help you do what you need to do.
He returns to duty, and instead of going back as a surgeon and going back to the back lines, he instead takes a demotion to field medic and is asked to go into a unit that he had heard Terry talk great things about. The 6th Division of the Indian Army that was under Major General Charles Townhead.
Okay.
He knew that Terry had always talked great things about it. He had always wanted to experience it, so he joins up. And this is when he gets there, they are in Kut Alamada at the time.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. He goes back to war.
He goes back to war, but unfortunately, the Siege of Kut, as it is known, does not go well for the British. 11,000 lives are lost, amongst them Hawkins on the front lines, doing what he did best, protecting everyone else.
Hawkins falls. Okay. But Hawkins Falls do what Hawkins wants to do. So Terrence, the one who stayed, what do we see of him after all of this?
Well, with Bo-chan, he assumes the role of Jeddak of Zedonga, a title that he has finally earned instead of having something being placed upon him. That fateful day that his sister, just out of the blue, shows up. Probably the best Christmas present Terry got, really ever. Terry didn't have any friends growing up, so he and his sister were very, very close. And she turns out to be the first Jasumian woman on Mars. Quite literally, she become very popular at court, especially with the men, maybe some of the women, as she is indeed so inclined. A search really does go out for Thiev Velis or any of his ilk. In the handful of years afterwards, he has finally tracked down that bastard dog, Thasala, the high priest that started this nonsense. And he has the pleasure of bringing his head to Shelothoris while she is in hospital. And if you actually want to do that scene, Keith,
It's okay.
No, all right.
We can just go ahead and do it as a tell us what happened, basically.
He what's her bodyguard's name?
Her personal bodyguard's name is
the one who wasn't at his post.
Oh, him. Yes. Jello Thorge, I was thinking of. That was Kelthark.
Yeah. Kelthark gets an earful from Terry as he talks him down. Dresses him down, making him well aware that she would not be in this state if you had not left your post. He delivers the head of the High Priest of Thurns to her and says, well, I was not able to find your assassin, as when Fergal shot him, he tumbled through a portal and somehow found his way on Jasum. But
and he most likely perished, from what I've heard.
Good. Well, a few moments later, there was a few squads of our tough English lads walking on his spine, so you can take comfort in the fact that that assassin got more than his just desserts, my dear.
She smiles. She's good.
So you'll be all right?
She nods.
Good.
She congratulates you on your wedding and on your elevation. Shortly after that, so you know. I'll go ahead and finish what you were saying. Sorry.
He will mention to Shelothoris, I have someone that I want to introduce you to, as you've not been at court in some time.
Mm-hmm.
And he'll actually summon in his sister.
Okay. She sits herself up in bed. He greets her properly. She sees, first off, she's enamored by the fact that this is a Jasumian woman.
Mm-hmm.
They become fast friends not too long after that. So
Sh-
it's
just
rumored possibly
as
more than friends.
yeah, as an
So,
aside, yeah,
Yeah.
Celeste Hawthorne might want to be a little bit more than friends with Shallow
Yeah.
Thoris.
Yeah.
In the interim, I have instructed George to be taking the heads of whatever Therns that he can, and offering them up as tribute to Bell Thoris, instructing him in the ways that Shallow Thoris might want something pretty from our conquest, and I think she would very much like to find a gift from you as opposed from me, my prince.
Oh yes. Yes. They wind up shortly after that. Well, first off, it's decided among the family that since you are now Jeddak of Zidanga and you are married to Bo-Chan, that she will actually step aside as Jeddak of Beltan, and George will take that place.
So the line of succession, Terry would actually negotiate this with his new wife. Any children of our union will succeed us in Zidanga.
Yes.
Any children from Belthoris and George will succeed Beltan.
Yes.
So now I can officially call George nephew, even though I'm not that much older than he is.
Yep. Okay. So to wrap it all up, that evening or at some point, there is, I would say it's on Mars, just a few months pass. And there's been some back and forth. They've actually, Court Calic has figured out how that box worked and has been able to create one of his own. Although that technology is kept very, very quiet among those who know about it.
Is Terry in that circle?
Yes, he is.
All right.
And arrangements were made, and a visit is arranged with Helium.
Where?
Helium.
Oh, Helium. Excuse me.
Yes. Yourself and your wife show up. George obviously shows up with his new. Well, they haven't actually gotten married yet, but the lady he's courting, Belle, of course, he wants to go see her.
His fiance.
And you're able to have something that has not yet occurred on Mars before. You're able to bring Christmas to Johnny Carter.
Oh yeah.
And the last scene we see is this merry group celebrating in the old ways, drinking finally some British brandy, cigars, of course. As we fade away, pull up from Mars, pull away, and as the curtains close, the story of Upon the Blood Red Sand comes to an end. Thank you very much, folks, for sticking with us through this whole thing. I hope you enjoyed our trip, and hope to see you next time we do something like this. So, good night.
The next story arc is Shapes in the Dark. We'll be taking a brief hiatus, and we will be starting on the 15th, Session 1, Shapes in the Dark, 15th of July.
See y'all then.
See y'all later.